I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 127 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. So I am curious today, before we get into the episode content, are you planning to do any April Fool's jokes this year? And the reason I'm asking is it is something that my mom always did when I was little. I always candidly probably was a little embarrassed by them or thought maybe it was a little bit silly. It was silly, like that's the whole point of April Fools, but I was easily embarrassed by stuff like this. But she did them all the time when I was little, and she was very inclined to like sort of pranks that the sillier, the better. There was never anything, harmful in the way that she did them, but she would do things like, I remember one year she sewed, like loosely hand sewed the bottoms of my pant legs together when I was little, right? So when I went to put my pants on in the morning, my leg wouldn't go all the way through, which of course, when you're like 5 or 7 is just hilarity. Another thing I remember was her switching, like we used to put sugar on our cereal. I mean, heaven forbid, right? I wasn't allowed to buy sugared cereal, but you could sprinkle a little sugar on your Cheerios. And she put salt in the sugar bowl. So when I went to put sugar on my cereal, it was salt and not sugar. So I remember that year vividly. And I think back on those things now with such fond memories. I don't have to think back too far though, because she's still doing it to my children. So last year, she brought the kids this, she said she brought them a pan of brownies, and it was like she had her whole brownie baking pan and it was covered with aluminum foil. And she's like, I thought you guys might want some brownies for after school. And when they opened it up, it was brown construction paper cut into the shape of capital E's. So the whole pan was full of these brown E's, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is the level of silliness, right, that April Fool's Day has entailed. So I'm curious if you're going to get in on that. I saw 2 really cute ideas that I thought were fun that I'll share with you here. And then I would love to hear from you with what you actually do. One was to take like a clear plastic juice cup, something you would drink juice out of, but fill it with Jell-O and then let it turn into Jell-O and have a straw in it. So you tell the kids, this is good for little kids, obviously, that they're going to have juice and they'll be so excited. And when they go to drink it, of course, they can't because it's Jell-O, which looked pretty funny. And then I loved this one for teenagers, if your teenagers wouldn't disown you, that someone had put a sign on the back of their child's car. And it says, honk, wave, and yell, hi, Jason, when you drive by. He doesn't know this is here. Happy April Fool's Day. And can you imagine being that teen driver with everybody driving past you, honking and waving and yelling your name and not knowing why it happened? So I think it's so important. Parenting can be so serious. I think it's important that we find these moments of lightness, especially with everything going on in the world right now. So if you have a fun idea for April Fool's Day, take a picture of whatever you did, post it on Instagram and tag me, and we'll reshare some of these fun ideas in stories. So you can tag me at @Skolnicki. We'll put it in show notes, and you can tag Brilliant Balance at @brilliant_balance. And I will be waiting to see what you cook up for April Fool's Day. Today, though, all joking aside, we're going to talk about a shift that I made in my time management philosophy after I had children. And it's one that you may need to make too, whether or not you have children, especially if you're prone to perfectionism. And it's what I call the surf or swim approach to time management. And then I think the way this will play out is realistically, you will probably be able to go back and forth between these two approaches to time management, depending on just how crazy things are in your life at any point in time. And I didn't really have a name for this until recently. And I was talking with some women on my team and realized that I told them I was surfing right now. And they were looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I unpacked this a little bit and then thought it would make a good episode. So I think as background, before children and really for my whole, adolescence and into early adulthood, I would say I managed my time like a swimmer. And the way I think about this is swimmers work hard, right? They're methodical. They are very serious. And that was me. I was focused, head down, stroke, stroke, stroke after perfect stroke. Each action was really carefully executed. I wanted to be fully in control. And candidly, I was swimming in pretty calm water. I was doing a lot, but I hadn't really in any way bitten off more than I could chew. I hadn't gotten in over my head. I mean, have metaphors all day long here, but I was really it was like swimming laps in a pool, right? Dig, dig, dig with those hands. Perfection was absolutely the goal. I wanted every lap to be better than the one before. I never wanted to miss a stroke. It was like finish a lap, flip, turn, repeat. And the swimming style of time management, if you can relate, it's what you do when you actually can get it all done, right? You finish your laps, you get out of the pool, you dry off, and you go take some time off, and then you do it again the next day. And it's very controlled. It feels very good, right? It's all about strength. It's about stamina. It's about form. And it actually works beautifully when you have enough time. There's this sense of predictability. I'm going to jump in this pool. I'm going to swim 50 laps, and then I'm going to get out and towel off. And that's how a day would work. I knew in my life what were the activities I needed to do for work, what were the things that I was going to do to take care of my household or my apartment, early on. What was I going to do to take care of myself, like go to the gym or go for a run? And it all fit. It all felt like there was this very clear sense of control. It was almost meditative, to move through my day. I could build a plan and I could stick to it. And again, this is the perfectionist dream. I was very much a perfectionist. I would say I'm still a recovering perfectionist. That's how I would describe myself now. And while this style of time management or this approach works beautifully when you have enough time, it is completely impractical when you don't. When life gets crazy, when you sort of move from the pool to open water. And that often happens when we have children, but it can happen during any surge in just the sheer amount of workload. It can happen as you're caring for aging parents. It can happen when you have a really big project or deadline at work. It can happen when there's something in your environment that changes, like you're going through a move, right? You're physically moving to a new home, or you're in a home renovation. Any of those times, the metaphor is like that's when the water gets choppy, right? That's when you're out there trying to swim as though you're still in a pool, realizing that you're going to go under. This is not going to work because the environment around you has changed. And this, my friends, is when you learn to surf. So for me, this was after I got married, bought a house, got promoted a bunch of times, had 3 children, and then started a business. I think several times during that, if I'm honest, and certainly by the time I got to that entirely new state, right, where I was a married mom of 3 who was running a business, swimming stopped working. I mean, the water was choppy all the time. I was out of breath all the time. And that's when I learned to surf. Hey friend, ever wondered why you're so tired all the time? Why you need that afternoon caffeine hit every day just to stay in the game? Hint, you probably need more sleep. So I created something just for you. It's a special guide to help you stop feeling so tired all the time. I'll teach you my best ideas to move from exhausted to energized so you can live out your brilliant dreams. Head to brilliantbalance.net/sleep and get your guide today. You're going to love this. And I think you're in surfing territory. You've moved into this when the waves just never stop. They just keep coming. They can be little waves or big waves, right? They can come slowly sometimes and they can come really quickly sometimes. But that's one of the things that, is your clue that you've moved into surfing territory is you just don't really see calm water anywhere. Gone are the days, right, of laps in a pool. And there's just no way that you can use the same technique to swim through that kind of environment. So you surf. And surfing really involves, as I've thought about this, 3 new skills that you never had to learn as a swimmer, right? Because the environment was totally different. So I want to talk about those 3 things and see if they give you maybe some room to develop a new operating style, a new way of thinking about how you move through your day or you move through your week. The first one is when you're surfing, you choose which waves you'll ride and which ones you let go by. You won't catch every wave, right? That's just not how surfing works. Some you just have to let go. And so that shift, that change is so difficult for most of the women who I coach through Brilliant Balance. It was the most difficult for me. It's difficult for my friends, right? The idea of choosing that are you kidding? With intention, I'm going to not do this thing. I'm going to let this one go. How could I ever do that? For a perfectionist, that is heresy, okay? But that is the key to surfing, is choosing which waves you're going to ride in and which ones you're going to let go by. And knowing that you're not doing it wrong when you let one go by. That's just how surfing works, right? Some things, some of those priorities or the tasks that are pulling at you for your attention, you're just going to have to let go. And if you don't make that shift and you're trying to catch every single wave, you're going to be exhausted and you're going to go under. Okay, that's the first skill, the first thing that changes. The second one I want to talk about is you need to be responsive to the waves that you do choose to ride. Surfing, if you picture a surfer standing on a surfboard, riding that wave, they are not in control. The wave is in control. Okay, the waves are stronger than you, and you will need to constantly respond, adjust your position, stay agile in order to really enjoy that ride. This is a humbling experience for someone who was always in control, right? You are now being carried at high speeds on a force that you cannot fully control. And the best option is really just to go with it and learn to adapt, learn to surrender, learn to follow where that wave wants to take you and enjoy the ride. And this, if I'm honest, is where fear really comes up for most of us, right? We start to feel that there's like an exciting current. It might be a business opportunity. It might be a new relationship. It might be something going on with a child, just a chance to move forward in our lives. And we make a choice, right? Are we going to get on this wave and ride it? And are we going to respond to it, or are we going to let it go by? And so much of what we want in life is about choosing the right waves and then being responsive to them, knowing that, we are not fully in control, but that there's so much to be appreciated and enjoyed and accomplished if we can figure out how to work with this wave, right? Responding to whatever it's throwing at us. And it can be scary. Absolutely. Sometimes it is scary. But remember, the choice we made was to ride this wave. So while we may have to respond to how it behaves, we made the choice in the first place to get on it. And that's there's control that comes from knowing we've made that choice. The vast majority of the time, the ride is exhilarating, right? The ride is transformative. It's totally worth it. But there will be times when it's scary, where you think, I don't know if I can get from this wave to the next one. And yet you can. And the next wave comes along and you'll get on and you'll ride it. So the first piece, again, was choosing carefully which waves you'll ride and which ones you let go by. And then being responsive, really honoring the waves that you choose. The third piece is to stay fully in the moment and enjoy the ride. So listen, you can't surf without complete focus. There really isn't, if you think about swimming, you can get to a place in swimming where you kind of turn your brain off. It's like methodical, routine, it's predictable. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to take this next breath. This is where I turn. I've counted my strokes. Surfing doesn't work like that, right? You can't surf without complete focus on the wave you're on. You can't be worrying about the last wave. You can't be fretting about the next one and stressing out about the next one. You have to be where you are and really honor the choice. And for heaven's sake, have some fun doing it, right? Or it won't be very fun. So this concept of staying fully in the moment is so aligned to surfing. It's like, here's where I am right now. I'm making this choice. Okay, I've given that one enough attention. Time to get off this wave and get on the next one. Now I'm going to give that one my full attention, right? And I'm going to respond and ride it. Now I'm going to get off that wave and I'm going to get to the next one. And God willing, you don't go under very often, right? You don't crash, but sometimes you will. Sometimes when you're surfing, you'll go under. You fell, right? Like the water took you under. It's temporary, very uncomfortable. But knowing that you can recover from that crash and then get back up and catch the next one is a key part of mastering surfing. So if you've always been a swimmer, if that's the operating system you've always known, that you've always leveraged, then surfing is going to feel very uncomfortable until you learn how to do it, right? It's not going to feel like you're doing it right. And it takes time and it takes practice. And it takes a mental shift to say, this is how I'm choosing to operate. Because guess what? If you are surfing and all you want to do is swim, and you're just lamenting the fact that you're not back in the pool swimming laps, you're not going to have any fun surfing. So honoring that this is where you are right now, either because, there's temporary surge around you and you need to learn to surf through it, or because it's a long chapter of having more realistically than you can handle as a swimmer. Either way, you want to push through that discomfort and embrace it so that it can be fun again. And it really can be. This idea of surfing can be so fun. I think it's a decent metaphor for what we teach women within our Brilliant Balance coaching programs. I mean, I think most of our clients would say, yeah, like the difference from how I tried to operate before and how I'm operating now, that I have some support and guidance on what it really takes to keep it all afloat, to keep a big job moving forward and to be a really engaged family member, as a spouse or a parent or both, and to take good care of yourself requires surfing. And I think most of our clients would say this metaphor works for what they're learning. So if you feel like you're struggling with this transition, maybe you're still stuck as a swimmer and this is starting to feel like, yeah, that's what my life sounds like right now, reach out. I mean, it would be great to hear from you. You can email me if you're on our list. You can DM me through the Brilliant Balance Facebook group. You can send me a DM on Instagram that I referenced earlier. It's @Skolnicki. And happy to connect and see if what we teach inside of Brilliant Balance would be helpful for you, because there really is another way, and it doesn't have to feel so hard. It doesn't have to feel like you're doing it wrong all the time. And this shift from swimming to surfing is definitely a big way to make that happen. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share today. Next time on the podcast, I have a guest. I am speaking with Hillary Hendershot. Hillary is a women and wealth expert, and we are talking about 5 financial mistakes that women can't afford to make. So again, very timely given where we are in this time in 2020 as we're recording this, and really look forward to sharing that conversation with you in next week's episode. Till next time, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.